Hey there, we're the Westlaw Pirates and welcome to the show. We're here to share our thoughts on Northwestern athletics and college sports with thoughts and analysis from the visceral to the statistical. We run our tailgate with the red pirate flag flying high above as we give no quarter, especially the fourth. I'm Sam Walter.
I'm John Lacombe.
And I'm Eric Scousbell.
It's been a little bit since we've been on, at least just the three of us. Obviously, last week, our annual draft bonanza, talking about the entire first round of the NFL draft with our good friends Chris and Gary. That always a good time, but it's been a minute since we've been on here talking Northwestern. Obviously, the last episode we had was a incredible interview with lacrosse coach, with Kelly Monte-Hiller. Awesome episode. If you haven't had a chance to listen to it, go back, have a listen, because it's lacrosse. We really got to lead with that tonight. Obviously, winning the Big Ten championship. But just to go back before we get into the tournament, the night game, the outdoor game that Thursday night against Michigan, you guys were at that game, had a chance to just be there as they set an attendance record for Northwestern for a lacrosse game. What was that? I mean, I was really wishing I could have been there, but couldn't make it. But talk about it, guys.
It was such a great atmosphere. It just felt like a big game, a big ass college game. In what we know is just an incredible, beautiful location. The weather was not the best. It was a little chilly. There was a couple sprinklings of rain. Nothing dramatic though. But the crowd was rocking and into it the whole time. You had players and coaches after the game talked about what that meant to them, how it felt on the field, and it was just a blast.
It was fantastic. And before that, Scuzz, you and I were in an alumni event in Ryan Fieldhouse, from a spot overlooking the field. And by the way, I mean, everyone talks about this awesome expanded facility and this just unique thing, but in terms of location and in terms of an event like this and the way that building looks down on that field, that's eternal. That's going to be there forever. That'll be there 10 years from now. It's an unbelievable thing, and it's an unbelievable ability that anytime there is a big lacrosse game, they can host an event like that and just blow it out. Now, we have this ability right now with this expanded seating to blow it out even more. And yeah, it was awesome. So Scuzz and I, we had a chance to sit and have a conversation with a bunch of other Northwestern sports fans overlooking the field to start with, then got down there right at the start. The entire expanded west stands were completely filled. It was a mob scene. It was really cool. A not insignificant part of the north stands were filled as well. It was a really strong crowd. I would say, too, it was, and this is something that we talked about online, it was a crowd that really knew lacrosse.
Yep.
And that was really, really cool. It was packed. And on one hand, you had a lot of high school lacrosse teams that were there filling it out, which why
awesome.
wouldn't they?
That's
why
so
wouldn't
cool.
they come and see like the best players in the nation playing? But I was certainly struck with the rank and file fans in the stands and that we talked to before and after, how much they knew Northwestern lacrosse and how much they watched this Michigan game and put it in context with other matchups against Michigan, who has played us really tough lately, and just the amount of knowledge that was there. People know this team. They love this team. They know the powerhouse that Northwestern is. And yeah, we sat in that packed west stands and experienced all of it.
Yeah, that little anecdote you shared of two older gentlemen in the bathroom after the game, debating how this stacked up against previous Michigan Northwestern lacrosse matchups, and that just kind of showcases right there, like what this sport is, what viewing it at Northwestern is, and in addition to it being a hallmark win for the Cats against their, I won't say toughest conference opponent, but a team that has been an absolute, right there with them the last few years, coached by Hannah Nielsen, former Northwestern player, an exceptional Northwestern player, as Kelly Monte-Hiller talked about on our pod. This game, Michigan got out to a pretty awesome start. They were up 3-0, and
almost through the entire first period. I mean, that Yeah.
I think it was 3-1 at the end of the first quarter.
3-1 at the end of the first quarter, and like that one came with a minute left.
But they were just playing suffocating defense. Suffocating defense. And then you saw Northwestern's strategy shift. They got more comfortable, more relaxed. Instead of trying to just beat Michigan, like get around the corner, like beat them with speed, they started passing into the lane, open players, and the doors opened, and Northwestern ripped off 15 straight goals with one exception, which was a penalty was called on Delaney Schweitzer, and Michigan was allowed basically an 8-meter shot with no goalie in the goal. And so, of course, they scored on that as, call it a penalty goal, call it whatever you want. But that goal withstanding 15 straight goals, it was 15-4 before Michigan scored again, getting the last two points of the game. And so, as you can imagine, that crowd, biggest capacity crowd that has been there for a Northwestern lacrosse game, a lax-oriented crowd that knows the game, to feel Northwestern come back from that 3-0 deficit, tie it, take the lead, go into halftime with a 7-4 lead, and then come out in the third quarter and just steamroll this team that is so talented and so well coached. It was electric.
Yeah, it was so cool. And kind of like the same feeling I had at the Big Ten Tournament last year, I kind of had this year too, where in person, when you watch a Maddie Taylor or a Sam Smith or a Sammy White or an Emerson Bolig,
throw a Nikki Miles in there too, because she scored 5 in this game.
Right. You're just very struck by how unbelievably good these players are. I mean, Taylor is the obvious one, and Michigan, and obviously this is, and this, we'll talk more about this in a little bit, but I mean, these teams are throwing the kitchen sink at Taylor. They just are. I mean, they're doing everything. They're like, this is the weapon, and, your mileage may vary, because she had that unbelievable goal where it was, who was it that went coast to coast? I want to say it was Miles or Bolig, but someone went coast to coast and then fed her for an unbelievable goal. I think in the second, where we were just like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, that was the one where fed it to Madison Taylor was in the air when she caught it. I mean, it was the equivalent of an alley oop in lacrosse. This was not passing the lane as you're cutting and catch it and take a step and shoot. She was in the air, caught the ball, and shot it before both feet touched the ground. It was bananas.
Right. It's one of those things where you're like, there's not but a handful of players that can do this. And you're very conscious, right? You're sitting amongst several high school lacrosse teams and looking at these teams, and you just know they're aware. They're like, this is the very best players in the sport that I play. I mean, I can only imagine having been a high school football player in New Hampshire and someone been like, yeah, let's just go over to Dartmouth, except Dartmouth has all of the best football, except Dartmouth's Alabama. And that's what you're going to watch today. It's like, that's the quality of talent. That's what every Chicago area high school lacrosse player has the chance to do, is just go see the very best players in the nation. And yeah, when they were rolling, and by early in the second quarter they were absolutely rolling, it was a privilege to watch. We all had a blast.
Much like ice hockey, this is a sport that really benefits watching it in person, and some of that is the full field effect, because I think on TV you don't quite grasp how fast and how far these players are running full tilt when they're on a fast break or clearing the zone and shifting gears to the attacking side. There's also the whole, the specific comp to hockey is, being able to see the whole ice. It really changes how you see the game and the way players are changing off the side, or how they're setting themselves up as play is shifting from one half to the other. One of the things that struck me watching this live was the physicality of the game. And not that you don't see it on TV, but it's typically what you see on TV is when a player is attacking the net and they're getting checked and stopped and whatnot, they might get knocked over. What you don't often see are the hits that come after a player has passed the ball. And I will not forget this for a long time. Like Nikki Miles took a shot in the kidney, like a cross check to the kidney after, I think she was on the, behind and into the left of the net, got the ball, came around, passed it into the middle, and then was entering, the scoring zone to kind of follow her pass and, for a return pass, etc. Didn't get the ball back, but just took an absolute shot to the kidney. And I thought to myself, my God, next time we talk to Kelly Monty-Hiller, we got to ask her about the physicality of the game. And I mean, of course, in the men's game, they're wearing near football level padding,
full pads, yeah.
And
helmet, gloves, nuts.
I have heard some others talk about neighbors and friends whose daughters play lacrosse and like the headshots and there's obviously there's a lot of calls in the game to limit and protect those things, but these girls are absolutely crushing each other, and that is really amplified when you see it in person.
Yeah, awesome game. And then, coming back 2 days later to just curb stomp Ohio State going into the Big Ten tournament, as the number 1 seed, winning the Big Ten regular season, going in, taking on a Johns Hopkins team that, wow, both games that Northwestern played in the Big Ten tournament were incredibly stressful, and just riveting. Incredible TV. One is, just off the top, watching it, it's nuts that they play on a field hockey field. Like, you're so used to seeing them play on regular AstroTurf, not AstroTurf, but field turf, which, mimics grass as much as possible. But like watching them play on that, like the field hockey turf, was just a little jarring, I think, for me. It just was odd. But
that's some really springy turf too.
Yeah. But that notwithstanding, this Hopkins game was just neck and neck the whole way. I mean, Northwestern never trailed in this game, but it was, they couldn't pull away.
These are two teams that are both really, really good, that Northwestern smoked in the regular season. And they both really adjusted, and I'm talking about Hopkins and Maryland, and just delivered way, way better performances. Now, in the case of Maryland, those improvements are extremely localized, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But yeah, Hopkins just basically kept pace the whole way. We never trailed, but and in that sense, the character of the game was different from the Maryland game. But yeah, they were just on us and really effectively poured in goals at a level that really hasn't been typical of Northwestern all season. But I would say if there was a character of this entire Big Ten tournament for the Cats, it was atypical, but they got through.
Yeah, they had was it Megan O'Brien on the defensive end who just kept turning Northwestern over. She had something like 5 takeaways. It was really impressive the way they were disrupting Northwestern. Of course, their coach, Tim McCormick, former Northwestern assistant coach. This is another in the Kelly Monty-Hiller coaching tree, and knows Northwestern extremely well, knows how they play extremely well. This was a game where there were a lot of moments that you were like, uh-oh, is this where Hopkins gets level? And they never actually, I think until the very last shot of the game, there was no chance where Hopkins was actually shooting on goal to tie it. And as a result, Northwestern was able to answer every time that Hopkins got close. And so it didn't quite get to that level of really clenching your concerns. But it was still, it's so fantastic to see Northwestern pushed this way in this tournament, because they're going to need that as they get into the NCAAs.
And yeah, if you look at, Nikki Miles had another 5 against Hopkins. You had 4 from Maddie Taylor, and yet at the same time, that's on 10 shots, and she was just shot after shot, and that was a little bit of a preview for the ludicrousness that was this final against Maryland.
Yeah, this Maryland game was just incredible. I mean, Maryland gets off to a 3-1 lead after the first quarter. They're up 5-2 at halftime. But if you look at the numbers, Northwestern is out shooting.
The
Maryland.
Numbers are drunk. They're drunk.
It's insane. And the number of shots on goal in the first half, Northwestern had 21 shots on goal. Maryland had 7. Shot attempts, and shots on goal. Northwestern had 13. Maryland had 7. Maryland's goalie was standing on her freaking head. She had 18 saves the entire game. That's just that's unheard of. I mean, that's like Vezina level goalie, for lacrosse. I've never seen anything like the way she stood on her head. It was wild.
Maryland play. I mean, it's so interesting when you look at like 5-2 at halftime.
Yeah,
8-7 total score. I mean, this is like a pre-shot clock era lacrosse game, and of course, these two teams are very defensively minded and very, very defensively skilled. But Maryland scored on their first 3 shots, and it did at that point they went into choke this game out, just absolutely try to stymie Northwestern and minimize the damage. Now still Northwestern taking 41 total shots to only 19 from Maryland for the rest of the way. The Cats did a great job of being tenacious with possession and on defense. And I mean, it wasn't until 15 seconds left that they finally took the lead.
Yeah,
it was bizarre. I mean, Maryland had 7 goals in this game. Madison Taylor and Nikki Miles alone had 26 shots, and 17 of those were on goal. Taylor,
yeah, they were good shots. That's a really important qualification. Yeah.
Taylor, this has to be the most frustrating game of her life. I can't imagine one.
Yeah.
She had 14 shots. She puts 10 on goal, 2 goals. So not only does she, is just throwing the kitchen sink at the goal and having almost nothing to show for it, but she also had the 2 yellows.
Yeah.
And finished the game.
Was she out for the last minute 35 because of that second
was.
yellow?
Oh yeah. It was I mean, and that's the thing is, and you clawed back. I mean, again, this couldn't have been more brutal. The character of this team to just have the most miserable run. I mean, things couldn't have gone worse in terms of the level of peppering Northwestern was doing on that goal and the return they were getting out of it. And then, they rally, they come all the way back, they take the lead, and then effectively Taylor gets what would have been the ice goal. The Cats would have gone up 2 and effectively salted it away. And instead, on the goal, on her shot, she hits the defender in the head. That's her second yellow. They disallow the goal. She gets sent to the bench, and we play a player down for a part of it. Enough time for Maryland to level, and then Maryland has a player sent off. We're both playing a player down, and then understanding that if we do go to overtime, we're not going to have Madison Taylor for the rest of the overtime. Taylor's on the bench. She was clearly really upset. It was, and then 15 seconds left, the miracle moment.
Yep. Well, so I misspoke because we did take the lead with 2:38 left. Taylor scored the go-ahead goal.
Right.
And then, to your point, went and scored again. It got disallowed, etc. But yeah, that that last minute 35, that's what champions are made of, And really, this whole game, to come out of halftime and just grind. Maryland scores the first goal coming out of half, and then Northwestern grinds 5 goals in a row to claw back from 2-6 to take the lead. And that's just that, against Maryland on their home field, a weird field, to your point earlier, Sammy, in a moment, Maryland's been chomping at the bit to get Northwestern in this kind of moment for a couple of years now, and that's big time. And
we take the lead with 15 seconds left. It ain't over then. I mean, Maryland wins the draw control, just ears pinned back, just beelines to the net, draws a free position with 2 seconds left on the clock, and just gets the shot tipped, and it goes wide. And man, just all the way down to the end, it was just nerve-wracking and insane. It was like playoff hockey overtime. It was awesome.
Smart foul by Northwestern, because the announcer mentioned this, and I agreed that had they not blown the whistle, the Maryland player who had the ball was like a freight train headed toward the Northwestern goal, and I think she would have had a better scoring opportunity just in real time than she did on an 8-meter coming off that penalty.
And at the end of the day, it was Edmondson, Corey Edmondson, who was Maryland's star. She was their talisman all game, and had the shot at the end, and it was brutal for her. I mean, she gave her all. She's crying on the field, but we've been on the other side of that. The margins. I mean, we all remember Dylan Amonte being denied by an ankle, right? And how thin the margins can be when it's this close. And again, credit to Maryland, credit to their keeper for making it this close. I mean, statistically, it's hard to look at the stats and think that this game ever should have been this close. But I mean, doesn't matter. You have to find a way to win. And I mean, we haven't really talked about her yet, but Aditi Foster, goal of her life. I mean, she's a first-year player. May she have more opportunities, but it's hard to think of a bigger one than that. Emerson Bolig finds her for an unbelievable assist. And Foster, I mean, she has a handful of goals on the season, and she had 2 in the Big Ten championship game, including the game winner, goal of her life with 15 seconds left. They're interviewing her on the field afterwards. She's shaking. You can hear it in her voice, just her voice quivering as she's like answering the questions. It was chills. You get goosebumps. I mean, it's like one of those moments, right? She was playing high school lacrosse a year ago, and now here she is, like winning a Big Ten championship with 15 seconds left. It's awesome. I mean, as a Northwestern fan, what more can you ask for?
When do we get the seedings for the official? When does selections happen? Is that early next week?
Yeah, we're waiting on it, because I think the end of next week. I think it's like the 9th is when the tournament kicks in.
Yeah, because the tournament doesn't start for another week and a half, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
On the 9th. So
gotcha.
We'll probably get the seedings at some point this week.
One thing that did roll in today, Big Ten honors, Kelly Monte-Hiller, Big Ten Coach of the Year again. You'll be shocked to know.
What?
And Attacker of the Year, Madison Taylor. You'll also be shocked to know. But it was a rough road. I mean, and again, clearly Northwestern, these teams got a second shot at Northwestern, and they really improved and adjusted. And now it's going to be Northwestern's turn to adjust, because Northwestern's going to be the team looking for a second shot at one, if not 2, of those powerhouse teams that are out there waiting in BC and UNC.
Let's not get it twisted. There's a real chance we'll see one, if not both of those teams again.
Yeah,
in a couple
that's
weeks.
what I mean. Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's the thing. Let us be the team that gets the adjustment.
Well,
no, I mean Maryland or Hopkins. I mean,
yeah.
Oh no, good point. Yeah, good point. Yeah. No, you're right.
Because the big 2, Boston College and North Carolina, they're going to be 1-2 in the tournament. Northwestern's going to be the 3 seed. But yeah, we could very much find Maryland or Hopkins or Michigan. I mean, Michigan and Maryland played a really tight game in the semifinal. I think it was 16-13 in the end. Michigan was up at one point, it was back and forth. All 3 of those squads are really good, and obviously know Northwestern super well and have a big old chip on their shoulder wanting to get the Wildcats.
If you or a loved one is seriously injured by someone else's negligence, hire Kent Simpson of the Simpson Law Group. After over a decade prosecuting murder cases in Chicago, Simpson opened his own firm focused on wrongful death and personal injury cases. He specializes in car, truck, motorcycle, boat, and other transportation accidents, as well as construction accidents, medical negligence, slip and falls, product liability, and more. Millions recovered for clients. No fee unless he wins. The Simpson Law Group. Compassion, empathy, and vigorous advocacy. Go to simpsonlawgroup.com or call 312-332-2107 for a free consultation. And go Cats. Yeah, so we'll definitely be keeping our eyes open on that. Turning our attention to the Diamonds, Starting with softball.
I love that you said that. It is fun to say diamonds plural.
Yeah,
and mean it.
Yeah, baseball's been a lot of fun this season, but we'll get to them in a sec. But softball's coming down the stretch. I mean, we've only got just a handful of games left, this regular season before we get into postseason play. But what a handful of games those are.
Yeah, buckle up.
Yeah, right.
Heading out west to take on number 8 ranked UCLA, for 3. But coming off last weekend where they took 2 out of 3 from Wisconsin. First one, 5-inning shortened game. Big win, losing game 2, and then winning the rubber match with a walk-off home run by Kaylee Avasado. What a way to kind of put a nail on the end of the season at the J, which wasn't as winning of a season as you'd expect from Northwestern. The home cooking wasn't necessarily everything that it had been in the past this year.
Well, the one exception really was the Nebraska series, and Nebraska is an exceptional team this year.
Really good.
They're just awesome, and they had Northwestern's number pretty strongly. Jordy Ball, their pitcher, is lights out, one of the best in the country, and Northwestern did not have an answer and lost all 3 games at home.
And credit to them. Since then, they've totally responded. They've been on fire since then, right? And their only loss was the second game of this Wisconsin series, and they responded. I mean, it's so funny, Sam, that you were talking about that. Like I said, that it's somehow this year there are 4 teams in the Big Ten that don't have a winning record at home. 3 of those teams are 3 of the 4 worst teams in the conference. And the 4th is your 4th-ranked Northwestern Wildcats. And as we all know, the J is a fortress for this team. So it's bizarre. And yet, you watch the game like the closing game of this series, this Wisconsin series, on Sunday. And it's just, it's so everything that the J is, that it's just one more way for you to be like, whatever, like, don't hand me any of this, like, 7-7. This is the J and this is Northwestern. And it's the spring, and it was a packed house, and it was just a classic, legendary Northwestern softball game. They were down 3-1 entering the 7th, and they have this unbelievable rally. So good, and it's just the core players who are involved. It's Grace Nito, it's Ayanna Lindsay, it's Kelsey Nader, and then it's Kaylee Avasado, the freshman sensation at the end. And I was thinking, it's just one of those things that is really cool. Now, granted, we all know Avasado, let's keep it. I mean, Avasado's been this team's best player this season. She has
remained. She started incandescent, and she has remained incandescent.
Right. She's electric. She's absolutely incredible. She's going to be one of the best players in the country for as long as she's wearing purple. And she finished it off with a walk-off home run, a 2-run shot to win this one. That shot and Aditi Foster's goal happened within about an hour of each other on Sunday. And it's just 2 first-year players making legendary plays. And it's just so cool. I mean, you get so used to, as a fan, to all of the biggest names or all the names that you know all these times. And then every now and then you get these unbelievable moments, right? Where, like, we all mentioned Danielle Williams back in the day, right? Where you get, suddenly you have these first years stepping on the field and you're like, holy moly, this is so cool that these young players are stepping in, making a huge impact, and you know how much impact they're going to make down the road. Also, friend of the pod, we've had him on multiple times. You all know him. Noah Kaufman called the absolute hell out of this game, especially the 7th inning rally. It was so good. His call, we put it up online. You should go listen. His call of Avasado's home run, we're lucky that we've got someone that can call softball like this. He's on in a millisecond after it comes off her bat, and it's a perfect call. And, since we'll all be watching clips of that plenty of times, it's really cool. But yeah, this team's rounding into form, right? I think they're 4th in the conference. And yeah, I mean, they've got a monster series on deck, that's for sure. They're headed into the mouth of madness, but they have all the opportunity in the world here.
I mean, it's a UCLA team that has not lost at home all season.
Right. So, I mean, again, odds aren't good for this series, but hey, I mean, the Cats are going to trot out Lauren Boyd, who is 12-4 right now and has been our ace all season. You're going to get one out of her. And, if her best outing is our best outing at the plate and things go our right way, we can take one of these. And, it's possible. And again, if we lose 3, I mean, it remains to be seen. The Cats sit in 4th right now. We'll see how it shakes out coming out of that series. But for a team that really took a lot of blows early in the season in that brutal non-con, and as Scuzz was saying, I mean, just took that tough stretch against Geordie Ball and Nebraska, they've been pretty damn lights out down the stretch, and they're getting it done.
We've seen them beat UCLA before. We'll see what happens.
That's true. That's true.
Right.
On the West Coast, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Was that not in?
No,
was it the Mary Nutter?
Nutters? Yeah, it was at Nutter.
Yeah, I think it was. I think
okay.
it was on the West Coast.
I was thinking Florida, but
yeah, the Big Ten Tournament at Purdue this year. So that's on May 7th through the 10th. So we got this weekend's games in LA, and then come back and get ready for the tournament and see what kind of hay we can make and go from there. Shall we talk a little baseball?
Hell yeah.
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 We've nibbled at the baseball sport in the past, but we've never. I'd say we have not really followed the team closely until the last couple of years, and this is probably the number one thing that we've heard from you all that you want to hear more about. So we made a little bit more of a priority to pay attention to them in the last couple of years, and look at this team showing up and showing out.
I was going to say, it's like softball too. Sometimes teams just grab you by the collar and demand your attention.
Yep.
And the Cats, the baseball team's doing that this year.
Yeah, I mean, 20-22 on the season. I mean, the last time this team has been this close to 500, I can't even think of.
That's the thing. So there are probably a lot of you who don't have a lot of history with Northwestern baseball, and you need to understand what 20-22 is for this baseball team. The year 2000 is remembered by most of you as the last time Northwestern won a Big Ten championship in football. That's also the last time Northwestern baseball had a winning record. That's where this team is. They are easily capable of laying claim to be the best baseball team in the last 25 years at Northwestern. And that's what's so exciting is like down the stretch is going to be their chance to do this. I mean, the final 10 games on this schedule are a fascinating blend of teams, and what they can do, what they can get out of it, is going to determine it. Effectively, they need to go 7-3 down this stretch, and if they can do it, that's a winning record. And it's going to be fascinating to watch them go at it.
Yeah, they got a weekend set at Purdue. Then they play Ohio State. 1 game at Wrigley, 2 games at Rocky and Bernice Miller Park, and then 1 game against Valpo, and then they head out west to take on UCLA for a 3 spot to finish up the regular season. So,
to give you a little bit more perspective on this team relative to Northwestern teams of the past. So yesterday, or was it today? I think it was today against Butler. Trent Laolis set the Northwestern single season home runs record with his 16th home run of the season. Ryan Kucherek is at 13 home runs. So to put in perspective of where this offense is raking compared to other offenses in the past 25 years, Northwestern has and could have 2 guys break the prior home run record for this team right now. Owen McElpatrick's batting .312. This team has guys getting clutch hits, but more importantly, it has guys slugging. There are a lot of guys on this team that are hitting for power, that are hitting for extra bases, that are getting clutch hits. It's a team that's getting it done. And again, 20-22. But you have to understand, this is, Northwestern is in no way a historical baseball hotbed here. They are, and again, to be winning one out of every 2 games right now it's really impressive for this team.
Yeah, I mean, 3 games, like I say, a 3-game set at Purdue, 3 set against Ohio State, including 1 at Wrigley, which, come on. It's a Friday night game at Wrigley. How cool is that, especially for the college players, before then heading out west to wrap up the season? So
I feel like, too, there have been years past, right, and including this, like, but where there's like a Wrigley game and it's like, oh, hey, well, like, this is like a great, like, bottle moment for the baseball players on this team. They need to win this. Like, this team's playing for everything right now. Ohio State's really bad this season at baseball, and Northwestern's playing, like, these are really meaningful games for this team, and let alone like positioning themselves for the postseason here and whatever seed in the Big Ten tournament. Like, yeah, I would get out to that one. It's a big game for this team. Like, they're looking to win it. They're looking to take as many from Purdue and Ohio State as possible to best position themselves for the stretch here.
Another really cool thing is the Big Ten tournament this year is in Omaha, so that's at the same location as the College World Series. So that's fun.
I mean, I guess realistically, they need to. I mean, again, if we're thinking winning record here, which again, it's a pretty big deal, be the first time in 25 years. They need 2 out of 3 against a Purdue team that is ranked below them in the standings. They need to sweep Ohio State, and Ohio State has only 3 conference wins so far this season. They need that Valpo, and they need to find a way to take 1 of those 3 from UCLA. But I mean, again, don't put it past this team. This is a team that is getting it done at a clip that we have not seen.
Real quick before we go, like we said last week was the NFL draft. We're not here to rehash the draft itself. There's
you don't want to go like an hour on Shedeur Sanders?
No, I don't.
No,
I really don't. I don't. There's enough.
I know.
Enough has been said.
Amen, brother.
But do want to mention, even though Northwestern was the only Big Ten school without any player drafted, we kind of expected that. However, we did get some good news. A.J. Henning, Marshall Lang both signed undrafted free agent deals, with Henning with the Dolphins, Marshall Lang with the Seahawks. And then we were also getting word that Coco Azuma, Thomas Gordon, Xander Mueller are all getting tryouts. Coco's going with the Giants. Thomas Gordon's got a tryout with the Bears. And then Xander Mueller has got 2 invitations, one from the Packers, one from the Commanders. So good luck to all of them as they do those tryouts. Obviously, AJ and Marshall will be going to training camp at least with the Dolphins and the Seahawks respectively. So that's really cool.
It's worth mentioning very briefly. So obviously, this past year was not a good year for Northwestern football, but there were a couple of bright spots. We beat Purdue, who had, I believe, 1 player drafted. We beat Maryland, who had 5 players drafted. And I do think there's, I think sometimes we get a little too caught up in the NFL potential of college guys. And it's just something to keep in the back of your mind as we go forward. Like, teams of the Big Ten, including Northwestern in many, many years, have pro talent on their teams. It is not the be-all, end-all, and it does not determine the outcome of games by itself.
Yeah, 100%. I think the other thing, too, Henning is the headliner here. Not because we all knew he had the best draft prospects, but any NFL fan will tell you it's probably better for A.J. Henning to sign a UDFA with the Dolphins than it is for him to get drafted by 20 to 25 other teams in the 6th or 7th round of this draft. The Dolphins are the perfect team for A.J. Henning. And it's not just that you can look at the kind of offense that they run and the way small, fast receivers are able to have success in that offense, is that we specifically have seen it with Malik Washington, a player every Northwestern fan knows really, really well and would compare extrememely favorably to A.J. Henning. They're unbelievably similar football players. And it was almost kind of a...
When you say that, it makes me a little worried that they're going to be playing for each other's jobs.
Sure, but that's one way to look at it. But on the other hand, I guess I choose to believe that the Dolphins are like, this is the exact same type of guy. And we stole Malik Washington in the 6th round last year, and he had 20-something catches for us this year. And here's another guy who's built the same way. And I'm sure anyone with any Northwestern connections is telling them, yeah, these are like the same football player. Like they're the same football player. And you can look at the results and you can see like the way that they've played and the way that they've played with bad quarterbacks and good quarterbacks and see exactly how it all breaks down. And yeah, I mean, again, you're right. They maybe they'll be competing in the same way, but I think the Dolphins really have a clear understanding of the exact player that they're getting here, and I think AJ is going to be set up for success.
Now, also with the Dolphins, Josh Preeb got a tryout as well, or was he a UDFA?
I think he's UDFA.
Okay, so yeah, Preeb signs as a UDFA with the Dolphins too. So I know his Michigan of it all was that last season, but he's still a Wildcat.
Yeah, it's a reuniting of all of those reunion of three Northwestern guys who spent a lot of time in purple. So it's cool. It'd be a lot to follow in Dolphins training camp.
Yeah, for sure. Anything else to mention before we get out of here tonight, guys?
Oh yes.
I know where this is going.
We must turn our attention to another sport that we do not speak often of on this podcast, and that is professional wrestling. So for those who recall, our 500th episode featured none other than Northwestern football's Joe Spivak, who for the last 3 years has been wrestling in NXT, which is basically WWE's kind of like, I guess, second tier program. Is that accurate?
It's their developmental program.
Development, yeah. I mean, second tier, like it sucks. It's where they have guys developing, and
they've got a weekly show on CW. I mean, they're getting airtime. It's not.
Yeah, they're on TV.
What that show to set you up is they're trying things out and seeing what sticks.
Yep,
and they have found something here.
So Joe Spivak, who wrestles under the name Hank Ledger, started on that show. Tank Ledger. Yeah. Thank you. I'm an idiot. Tank Ledger started on that show in the role of like he was.
Just say that again real quick.
All right. So Joe, who wrestles under the name Tank Ledger, started in NXT just as part of like a group of security guys that were supporting another wrestler named Hank Walter. And over the course of and this is how wrestling works. If you don't follow wrestling, yes, it is scripted and there's a lot of production, et cetera, that goes into it. The physicality is real. What you see these guys doing is quite impressive. But it is all about finding the guys and the storylines and the performance in the ring that resonates with the crowd. So Joe started in this kind of security guard role, slowly worked his way up to become Hank Walter's tag team partner.
And Hank Walker.
Yes, Hank Walker. And so they wrestle as Hank and Tank, the Belly Boys, as they call themselves. And over the last 2 months, basically, there has been a quite obvious protracted storyline of Hank and Tank trying to find themselves and figure out who they are. I think they had a shot at the tag team belts. They didn't win it. And then proceeded to, seek advice from all these other tag teams. There was one promo they did with the Hardy Boys. If you were a wrestling fan back in the early aughts, the Hardy Boys, tables, ladders, and chairs, extreme wrestling. They were like quite the thing. But roughly 3 weeks ago, Hank and Tank had to go. It was basically like a Royal Rumble of sorts of tag teams, and they had to defeat 5 other tag teams in a row.
It was a gauntlet match. It was match after match after match. Winner stays.
Yep. And so they went through like 5 different other teams to earn a shot at the belts, and then the following weekend they won the belts. They are your current NXT tag team champions. It's pretty sweet. If you follow Joe/Tank on Instagram, there's a lot of just fun little promos, etc. Joe, the guy is full of energy. He's entertaining as hell, and it's just awesome to see another former NU football player having a tremendous amount of success.
It's really cool too that, again, this is an entertainment sport, and these two guys have found something. I mean, we all know, right, that Joe's personality, but these two guys have found a dynamic.
Yeah, they feed off each other for sure.
They are a really good fit. They are very entertaining to watch. the Hank and Tank thing. It just works. You watch it for 1 second, you watch any of these promos that they do, and you're like, oh, this just works. And WWE, I'm sure, is very aware of this and is going to continue to position these guys for things, and that's awesome. I mean, may these two guys continue to ascend the wrestling ladder together, but it's just really cool. It's really cool to see one of our own succeeding in this way.
And, for them to win the titles in the night before WrestleMania, I mean, that's like
WWE kind of a big deal.
Biggest weekend. It's a huge deal.
For sure.
Everything goes toward that weekend, and it was their big, I guess it's not a pay-per-view, but it's their premium live event, and they win basically as a part of WrestleMania weekend. It's awesome. It's really, really cool to see, and it's a lot of fun to we knew him when, right? You don't get to say that too often with WWE wrestlers. It's cool.
As we said on our draft show last week, he got that Westlaw Pirates bump. Came on for 500 and it's just been a rocket ship since then.
Absolutely. Oh, well, on that note, we'll go ahead and leave it there for tonight. Head to our website, westlawpirates.com, where you can leave comments and questions. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram, not TikTok yet, but who knows, YouTube at Westlaw Pirates, and you can always email the show, westlawpirates@gmail.com. Tune in next time as we give our visceral and statistical views on Northwestern athletics. Look for us in the west lot of Ryan Field flying the red pirate flag, because we give no quarter, especially the fourth. For John Lacombe and Eric Scousby, I'm Sam Walter. Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you next time.